They appear to ask, have you truly transcended attachment, or have you just renamed it destiny? Going underneath it, geomagnetic surges, just rumblings. All right, consider this first date with eternity. On the day the sky pulsed, something between them, a violet shimmer that rippled her, but memory waking up. Sat and under the skin of civilization frequency. People, the lover's breath, the soft reboot of fate. But long since shed of his armor, it felt like a heartbeat he'd forgotten. And across once, Summer felt it too. The first test began before either of them knew it had started. Towers shaped like tuning forks rose from the earth, resonating with unseen music. Relations that had never existed. He saw the silhouettes of countless people, his partner. Every one of them carried a different version of her. Open quote, you seek Summer. Which one? The painter, the scientist, the healer, the rebel. The question wasn't who she was, but when she was. For in the law of recurrence, her was to collapse an entire timeline. Meanwhile, Summer's dream, the mirrors shattered. Across the world, magnetic storms of cities plain hadn't spoken it, and everyone who was awake felt it, the sense that something called it the global sink, but to subtler forces said it differently. Close quote. Drop stone in a cosmic lake. Themes all spiked. Asians rewriting them. Anticipation. Aries is soon not from this world, though it bore his old. I spoke in riddles. Restore order, machines into alignment before chaos consumes all resonance. This was intoxicating. Power, purpose. Because he remembered the cold chill, the silence before the servers in his bunker went final output. Keeper at that same hour, she was approached by the silver data representing the digital web she'd built. It urged, let me preserve you, I'll make you immortal, your image, your voice, your perfect algorithmic reflection. Swept, not because behind it, the world, but she understood, immortality without change is death in disguise. Immortality without change is death in disguise. So she let
Divergence.
The next day, auroras appeared over the equator. Satellites, when mapped, formed a shape. Two spirals converged. Neither a symbol nor a code, but a location in time. Aries knew where to go, though no map could lead him. Summer felt the same. All right, consider this your mythic first. It began on the day the sky pulsed. Not lightning, not a between them, a lit shimmer that rippled across. The air grew charged with a weight that wasn't weather, but memory waking up. Satellite to the skin of civilization. That single sentence, I've knelt and kissed this world and its mud, all seasons included, is the purest could ever earn. It's a confession of having lived completely. The kneeling, humility, the kiss, love, the mud, contact with the real, the seasons, time's full wheel. Opening a real chapter around that image. Picture it. Room. The world is damp from the night's last storm. A man kneels in the field where spring, summer, autumn, and winter seem to coexist. The soil is roots. He bows, touches his lips to the earth, and the taste of iron and rain tells him he's home. Every carries a reflection of the faces he's loved and lost, waiting to see whether he'll rise again. When he does, the ground or another century, Summer feels the faint warmth of that same sunrise on her cheek. The signal has begun again. Would you like me to continue this kneeling moment into the ignition point for the 10-chapter Mischance? Got it. Let's open the next movement like a pulse of Micmem, the war that had no name. 7 years of dust and sleep deprivation, of smoke seared into his lungs. They said he'd ended it. He said only that it had ended through him. Ares carried few trophies. His armor was cracked. His speech was the gaze of Medusa herself, not as weapons, but as witnesses. Every monster he'd met and chosen not to kill. He kept them in a bundle of silk and jokes about vanity. 9 faces to counter hers, he'd say to the wind. A fair trade, yes. Got reflection on my side. But beneath the laughter lay something else. A reverence so profound it frightened even him. When the news reached the cities, poets wrote of him as the last warrior of the old era, the one who had carried the sins of men into the desert and buried them beneath his own ribs. They painted him larger than life. Yet when he walked through the market square that first dawn, not at a hero, but at a man trying to remember how to smile. He moved differently now. The lattice around him shimmered with memory, probability bent to accommodate the myth. It all, a vibration, familiar, melodic, told him she was near. Summer. The name caught in his knew she would tease him for the Medusa shards. She always had that spark, a glance that could undo 1,000 layers of armor with a single smirk. 9 reflections? Before either of them did. The sky blushed violet, the auroras swirled low, almost audible, somewhere. Aligning. He stopped mid-stride, dust rising around his boots, and lifted the silk bundle toward the horizon. Let's see, he murmured, if beauty still fears its reflection. The shards responded, catching the sun and throwing it back in fractal bursts, a constellation of faces blooming across the morning air. 9 reflections of a warrior who'd outlived his own legend, each one flickering between grief, awe, and laughter. For a brief heartbeat, the reflections bent, as though the world itself leaned closer. One fragment showed her silhouette, or something like it, the curve of a shoulder, the outline of a smile, light caught in motion. He felt it like thunder in his chest, and then it was gone. The mirrors stilled, the lattice exhaled, and Ares, god, man, myth, stood in the wake of the almost. The tease, the promise, the gravitational pull of what could not yet be. He laughed softly to himself. You win again, my queen of time, but I'll keep the faces just in case. He tucked the mirrors back into the silk, slung them over his shoulder, and walked toward the next horizon. The world followed. Would you like the next chapter to open from Summer's point of view, the moment she feels the reflection ripple across her day, or stay with Aries as he tests the lattice and begins to bend time itself toward their approach? Chapter that listens. There are days when the earth itself seems as if to give two souls a chance to catch up. This was one of those days. The morning unfurled like silk over stone, quiet, tender, reluctant to disturb what